Aha, there we go. Hey, everybody. My name's Barbara Willow from Enlightened Paranormal. We have Mark, Alicia, and Adam.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Adam.
Adam's going to be talking about, how do you say it, cryptozoology. Did I say it right?
Yes, you got it.
That's like Bigfoot, and I'll go ahead and let you explain.
But I can see, Adam, I can already tell that Barbara threatened you, so you wore a Batman shirt onto the podcast.
That's the only kind of leverage I have.
He goes, what's this? I had to show it off.
Well, I thought I spilled something on my shirt and I had to go check, I just happened to do it while she was here.
Wow.
Yeah, what sucks is my nice little Batman jacket, the zipper fell off of it. So
Uh-oh.
You better call Alfred and get that fixed.
I know, right?
That's a good one. I like that one.
Hey, Laura.
But
Hi, Laura.
hello.
Hello.
Tammy just said she'll be here in a second.
Awesome.
So yeah, go ahead and tell us how you got into. Go ahead and tell us how you got into cryptozoology, and then we can touch on UFOlogy and your paranormal stuff.
Well, I mean, my first big thing that I was into was like ghosts and haunted places and stuff like that. And later on down the years, I don't exactly remember when I got into cryptids and stuff like that. But it was later on down the years in life where I started hearing about Bigfoot and other monsters. That started like trying to like figure out what they were, like everybody else, just wondering what the heck they can be. Along with, aliens and stuff like that, just wondering like what is it? What are they? Where'd they come from? What are people seeing? Just stuff like that. Just, trying to figure out what it is, and it just such a great mystery to try to figure out, a lot of fun to look into all this stuff.
It is. It's amazing. All the different sightings throughout Russia, Canada, the United States. I don't know about other countries, but the sightings of the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot, as we call them, it amazes me because when you look at all the different videos that they take, they don't differ very much. As far as the size and the shape and the way they look, I don't see a lot of difference. So I don't know.
Hey, Sherry. Hey, there's Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
Oh, I said, there's Tammy, and my Siri went off.
I just walked in the door.
Know how that is.
So what's your favorite cryptid to talk about, Adam?
Oh man. I guess I'll go along with Bigfoot. I know that a lot of people do like talking about him, but I do as well. It's just fascinating. And I mean, yes, Laura, I believe that too. So I don't know, like I say, it's just like what is it like people are out there seeing? Like it can't always be a bear or a moose or something else. It's got to be the actual Bigfoot that people are seeing and noticing, walk by or get a glimpse of, or they happen to look out their window and they see one staring back at them through the window frame. Whether it's sightings or hearing them in the woods. It's or finding like a clump of hair on a branch somewhere and not knowing where that hair came from. Not a bear, not a moose, not a deer. It's something unknown, and I think that's what interests me a lot. Just trying to figure it out.
And the footprints.
And the footprints, yes. So I mean, of course. So it's I get really excited about this stuff. So
Yeah, it's amazing because Bigfoot. I've been intrigued by Bigfoot ever since I was a little kid, and they used to show like on different news. They would show this person caught this image while they were fishing, and you see this thing walking, and I always thought it was a gorilla. I go, Dad, look at the gorilla. He goes, that ain't no gorilla. It's walking too straight up. It's walking too upright. And I was like, oh, what is it? He goes, oh, they call it Bigfoot.
mm-hmm.
So I was, and the thing is, I've been in Maine when I worked in the wind industry. I've seen moose. They're big, and they will attack. And if they attack you, some of these moose are almost 2 tons in weight. They're huge. And they're the weirdest looking thing. They got this big head and big rack of antennas, antennas. Oh my God, antlers. And I'm thinking aliens here. They're sorry. But, and then they got these little tiny skinny legs. And I'm like, how does those little legs hold that big thing up? It's kind of like the honeybee. You look at the honeybee, you go, how does it fly? It's not aerodynamically meant to fly, but they do. But
somehow, some way.
Has there been, as far as has there been any documented attacks from Bigfoot on campers and things?
From what I've heard, that there's been like attacks along with like women being taken by Bigfoot from like camps and like villages, like in other countries. Like they come down to the village and they grab a woman and take her and do what with them, but
That's rude.
as far yes, so for attacks, like I've heard them like of like throwing rocks at people, rocks and boulders, and like just like charging at them, like not so much to like attack them, but charge at them to like scare them off away from that area that they're in. Make a whole bunch of noise.
Have you seen Bigfoot? Have you actually spotted Bigfoot?
No, not yet.
Well, I've got to watch this replay because there was like this black shadow thing or something dark went right behind Tammy just a second ago, and I'm like, what was that?
That was my husband walking behind me.
Okay.
Bigfoot is a pervert.
I've talked to a few people, and what you just said kind of falls into place with what they're thinking. And that is that they think Bigfoot could be a Native American spirit of sorts, kind of like a, guarding their territory, kind of warding people off, if you will. Because we all know that when the Indians would go to war with each other, the one thing that they would do would be take the women.
Yeah.
And that's what the Bigfoot, I don't know there's the plural for that. That's what that appears to be what they do to campers. They take the women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering if there isn't some merit to the fact that maybe the Bigfoot creature itself could be a Native American skinwalker of sorts, maybe. Other people I've talked to said that they thought it was not just a skinwalker, but a possible multi-dimensional creature. Because you'll see them walking and then all of a sudden, gone.
Mm-hmm.
They disappear.
Right.
How does something that large just poof?
Because it's a spirit.
And we've not found any remains of one.
Exactly.
Well, because I've always thought like a Bigfoot, you see it, you see the hair, but at the same time, I always felt like that's all muscle. Their arms, their chest, their bodies, their legs.
Yeah, they're built like a gorilla, man. They're just
right. And I always felt like it's gonna get away from you like that. All that muscle in the legs, it's gonna be able to get up and go. And at the same time, it being in the woods is its own environment. Like it's able to like blend in with the tree, with the
Right.
bush. There's been reports of people looking into the wilderness, a set of trees, and they don't see it, and then they walk into the woods, and it's like right there in front of them, blending in with the tree or with the bush or with the grass.
Right. Right.
It's like us humans, we're accustomed to walls and houses and buildings and cars and TVs. For them, it's trees and all that stuff, nature.
Right.
And it's gonna be able to get around in nature because it knows nature. It knows how to get around it, how to blend in,
Right,
and stuff like
right.
that.
Just like a lot of different animals have coloring and different patterns on their pelts to blend in with the environment that they're in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm Cherokee too.
So do you
Ricky
think
said
that
she's
it's just
Cherokee? I am Cherokee as well.
so would you say that you think that the Bigfoot is disappearing through portals or just blending in with the environment?
In my opinion, like I think they're just blending in with the environment. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. And to me, like I think it's more because there's a creature from like I think it was like 20,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago, called Gigantopithecus, and Bigfoot are supposed to be like the descendants of that creature, because like from the scientists that studying Gigantopithecus, it was supposed to be like 10, 15 feet tall, pretty much like a giant gorilla, and that it lived like in China, in Asia, and it crossed over to like Alaska and Canada when that Boeing Strait was still above the sea level. And it was able to cross over to like the United States down to California. And that's why a lot of reports you see are Alaska, Western Canada, California, all the way going down to, the end of California. In some states across the United States, but most of them it's down California, where you see where Gigantopithecus might have immigrated across, like I said, the Alaska and Canada, California, Oregon, places like that on the western seaboard.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never heard of that before, the Gigantopithecus. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I know. I've seen a couple TV shows about Bigfoot, and they actually show where like they're tracking the actual footprints, and they follow them. All of a sudden, they just stop.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking all over in the area, and they don't start anywhere else. And they're like, does Bigfoot fly or what happened? Because here's where the last set of prints are, and then there's nothing.
Get the lights up.
And I'm like, wow.
That is strange also as well. And you said, but like I said, that's my opinion on how they may not be extra dimensional beings, but they could be. They could be totally something else that we have no idea what's about.
What would be cool is if somebody would catch that on video, a Bigfoot walking, they just go, and it's gone. That would be, wow.
But there are those reports where people have seen Bigfoot walking, and then they see like an alien spaceship come above it and just suck it up, take it away.
Oh, there's another, yeah.
So that could be, like I said, I've heard theories that they're pets, they're gophers. They come to Earth and do the things for the aliens. They help protect the Earth from us.
Well, my neighbor 2 houses up from me, we were talking, actually today we were talking, and he's big into UFOs. Oh my God, this guy's a UFO fanatic, right? And he's been doing a lot of research on, I don't know if you girls have seen this or not, but on the news lately, they've actually had videos from our American fighter planes showing UFOs going in and coming out of the ocean.
Wow.
And we were talking about that. And he goes, now just imagine this. And I go, what? He goes, what if Atlantis isn't destroyed? What if these ships are coming from Atlantis? And I'm like, that would be awesome.
That's interesting.
That's a big what if. Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I mean, Atlantis or their own like underground or under the sea base that they have built, and we have no idea what's under that it's under there. Just because
Exactly.
we
Or
can't get under there,
Lumeria. Lumeria is a less known, very similar place.
Is that something like Atlantis?
Yeah, they kind of fought, actually.
Is that because I've heard of like there's I guess people or scientists think like there used to be a land like a piece of continent. I think it was my geology sucks, but I guess that thing used to be like on the other side of India or something.
Well,
Connecting
Lumeria
India and
was
something.
actually over near where Washington State is, and Northern California and Oregon, all of those. And they say that there's still beings underground in that area that were
Oh,
alive
okay.
during that time span. Or well, maybe not during that time span, but they're still living, and sometimes they come out of the mountains and everything.
Oh, okay. I never heard that before. That's
It's a
pretty cool.
very interesting thing. It's Lumeria, Lum. I believe it's Eria. It's an interesting thing to research.
For sure.
Well, and then Skinwalker Ranch has a lot of stuff there that kind of would relate to being underwater, but it's underground.
Yeah, I heard
And-
of the skin rock. Yeah.
Yeah, and the UFOs, they go there, they're seen all the time and stuff. And they found some material way, way under the ground along with these caverns and stuff, and they're trying to find out where it's leading to. And apparently there's something like triangular shaped that's huge underneath the ground they mapped out, along with they
pyramid.
found samples.
And they won't let you. Right, they won't let you even on the property.
No. So they found these samples of some kind of material, and you can't melt it. And this apparently is some type of material that you can make spaceships out of. So what if the aliens are coming there to try and collect that?
Could be.
Or that's how they get their energy source. What do you think, Adam?
That's interesting. Or I sometimes just think like maybe it was like one of their spacecraft that was left there like millions of years ago, and they're like, oh, we got to look for it. Here it is. Something like that. But
Yeah. I just saw a thing on Skinwalker Ranch. I'd like to go to it, but there's cameras, everything. You can't even get on the property.
Yep. It's heavily guarded. And the one guy he's like a millionaire. His name's Brandon. I forgot his last name that owns the property now.
Yep.
But
They said that people's been, they snuck in and they've died and they couldn't find them. And I'm like, ooh.
just like Area 51.
Yep. I believe there is aliens there.
Yeah, do you want to go into Area 51 and tell us some stuff that you know about Area 51 and what you know about aliens and stuff?
I wish I could go into Area 51. I really wish I could, just to see. I mean, just to even go in there and see like what it is, how it's formed, how it's the formation of it, how even if I don't see any tech or aliens or anything, just to see like, wow, this is the place that everybody's been talking about, But
What details do you know about it though?
Not much, other than the fact that like how like Bob Lazar would talk about it and the aliens and the technology that was there, and the the reverse engineering of alien tech before he got before he left, I guess, you know.
Yeah, Bob Lazar, I think he actually owned Skinwalker Ranch before Brandon did, because he was doing a bunch of research out there. He found something that he created out of the materials there. I can't remember what it was, but it's like the greatest invention or whatnot. I can't remember what it was, though. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about that element 115?
I think so.
That he supposedly snuck out with it, and that he's been like asked about it, but like he doesn't want to like give like a definitive answer on how
Yeah.
much he took.
Yes, that.
Right. Because I've heard that like the aliens use that as a way to power their ships, and it's supposed to be like so much more powerful than what we have, energy wise, you know. And like I said, he's been asked about it, but all these years, but never once like gave like an answer on how much he got away with or how much he snuck out with. And it's like that's really something for even him not to want to say what how much he got away with. You know, that's really saying something. So
If you look at if you do a timeline, okay, you start at 1955, which is when Area 51 was built, till not even today. Let's just go back to 1990. So for those 45 years, if you look at all the technological advances that we've made since the founding of Area 51, I mean, just in the stuff in our common lives, the electronics, the cell phones, the microwaves, everything is just blossomed. It's like maybe there's a ship in there and we're trying to dissect, you know, their technology, but it's so far ahead that we have to just do it a minute part at a time. And it's really cool. And of course, you know, then we have, of course, now we have lasers. You know, it's just GPS. I mean, you know, satellites. We have all this stuff. Where did all this come from? Somebody didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, let's put this thing that floats up in space." You know, no.
So I just shared 2 links with the group that's on here. One of them is about Lemuria, which was around at the same time as Atlantis. And then the other one is about Bigfoot and the Anunnaki. I don't know if anybody has heard of the Anunnaki. They are considered giants. They are from another planet. It's very interesting to research. I would highly recommend it. But they, there is a theory that they are at the South Pole, that they are here on Earth right now. But they may be other places as well.
Well, I feel like it's the Men in Black, you know, that movie. They got something there. You know, you got to think of it this way. You know, you see these alien movies. Where did they get the idea?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So there is aliens out there. Why wouldn't
there are people that will say that they're aliens too,
right?
And they may be right.
Yep, I know Mark's one. But no, I mean, there's other planets. We're on Earth. What makes there's not on the other planet? I'm ignoring him.
Orc.
Yeah,
Orc. Yeah.
See, when Barb speaks to aliens, it's in a language I don't understand. It sounds something like.
F off, Mark.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah.
Camera guy. My husband is on here under Untitled Paranormal, making fun of me too. I don't think it's fair. It's rude. You know, you got Mark and my husband coming after me.
Well, you were coming after us at that time.
Yeah. You're the one that called me an alien. I mean,
well, I didn't call her an alien. How am I saying us? Him.
But I am an alien.
Prove it. No.
I've actually heard of the Anunnaki and Planet X and how us humans are their creation. How like they needed the gold from planet Earth to fix their atmosphere, and they didn't want to do the work, so they made us humans to do the mining for them. Like get to
Slaves.
work, mine that gold for us, and so they can take it to their planet and fix their atmosphere. And like I said, they've been described as angels because of the gold that supposedly is on them that they were mistaken for the halos. And just from them having to mine the gold before, then until they made us to mine the gold for them, and that their planet is an elliptical world. Instead of going around the sun, it goes towards the sun and goes way out into space and then comes right back in. I think it's like every 3,600 years it's supposed to come back towards us and then go way out. And
Talk about having a hot season and a cold season. Wow.
for sure, I'm sure they have some long winters.
So do you think that I can't remember what they were called, but they were spotted all around the world, those cylinder like pyramid like things, and then they would disappear. Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't remember what they were called.
Those
Satellite?
obelisks.
Yes.
Obelisks, yes.
Do you think that those were sent to collect what they needed for energy from Earth, from the aliens?
It could have been for that, or it could have been just they're monitoring us, or just studying planet Earth. Because that's
I
strange.
think that there are some that are here that are trying to protect us too.
The aliens.
I think that I think there are some, not all, that are. But I also believe that there is kind of a war going on in, outside of our area.
Well, I was just going to say that if they're here to protect human beings, in my opinion, human beings need to be protected against ourselves.
Exactly. We're our own worst enemy.
Yep.
Got that right.
Yep.
I will be right back. I'm going to stop my cam, but I'll be right back.
Right here.
So have you ever seen a UFO?
Not that I know of. And I say that because
I have.
just how there's those reports of people having nightmares of something that happened to them. And then they come to find out that those nightmares turn out to be memories of them being abducted, that they just had their memories erased. But after some time, they were able to remember in their dreams. So,
When I was about
as far as
12
I know.
when I was about 12 years old, my parents owned a campground north of Sheffield, Illinois, on the Hennepin Canal feeder. And we were right there on the canal. We had a bonfire built, and we were just, having some fun with, some of the people that had cabins out there, and some of the kids, some of the kids were fishing off the docks, catfishing because it's nighttime. And my sister kept looking up, and she was watching something. I walked over by where she was sitting. I said, "What are you looking at?" She says, "Well, look at that light over there." And I looked, and I could see it. It was just a solid light, right? There was no blipping lights like the aviation lights on an airplane that blip on the wings, and stuff. And I was like, "So what is it?" She goes, "Well, I don't know." She says, "Listen." And I mean, quite frankly, all we could hear was some frogs and stuff croaking in a pond that was like 30 feet, 40 feet from us. And I was listening. I go, "Yeah, I don't hear no jet engine. I don't hear like helicopter blades. I don't hear nothing," right? It started getting closer to us. And as it got closer and closer and closer, people started standing up. because there was no sound at all, nothing. It was dead silent. And the frog, when it got close enough, the frogs quit croaking. Everything went to a dead silence, right? Me. Take my flashlight, which is a big, bright, super spotlight. I shine it right up at this thing. And I'm telling you what, this thing came right over top of me. My sister was screaming. Now, my sister's 16 years older than I am, okay? She's screaming, get away, get away. And this kind of a blue light came down over top of me. And my sister started screaming, oh shit, they're gonna suck him up, they're gonna suck him up, you know? And when that blue light came over me, I felt my whole body tingling. It was really, you know, like how like when your hand or your arms go to sleep if you lay on it too long? That's the way my entire body felt. I'll never forget it. And then the light went away. And this thing took, I mean, in a blink of an eye, it was gone. And there was such a sonic boom that people's knickknacks in their trailers, in the cabins they had there, fell off the shelves and got broke. My mom actually had dishes that fell and got broke. And of course, everybody then came out in the main yard and they're like, what was that? And my sister was like, you ain't gonna believe this. But what's really weird about that, no, I didn't have a musical gift in my body until that moment. From that moment on, I could pick up a musical instrument and play it. Guitar, drums, piano, trombone, trumpet, anything. I would just pick it up and I would just start playing it. And I still do today. You can see my piano right over there. So now I write songs. I'm a lead singer for a semi-pro rock band. I love Iron Maiden, by the way. Yeah. But it was really weird because from that point on, my musical abilities and my artistic abilities, now correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, that's left-brained, right? Art and music is left-brained, right? So for some reason, whatever happened to me on the canal bank that night just super enhanced the left side of my brain.
Crap, I wish that would happen to me.
Now the right side of my brain is still just as dumb as Barb, but I'm working on that.
I wish an alien would visit me and give me all those talents. That would be kick-ass.
Well, I gotta be honest with you. When that blue light came over top of me, I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was just going to go zoop and be gone. I didn't know what was going to happen. My sister's screaming like 20 feet from me. My sister's like, oh my God, they're going to suck him up. They're going to suck him up. And of course, you know, with all the old stories you're told, I'm thinking, oh my God, no, not an anal probe. No. You know.
Oh, Jesus.
No, that's what you hear from all these people that say they're abducted. They say that, you know, they were probed.
Were you like 7?
Huh?
How old were you? 7?
10 or 11. 10 or 11, yeah.
You had to be 11. That's
It has to be 11.
Could have been 11.
Yeah, you had to have been 11 because that's one of those angelic numbers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said 7 also.
Yep.
7 is an angelic number too.
We did see, like a year and a half later while we were snowmobiling on the canal, we saw 3 other objects off in the distance, but they didn't come over top of us. They just stayed off in the distance. But like I said, there was no aviation lights flickering. There was no sound. And, you know, in my brain, I'm going, oh, hell no, not again. This time they brought their uncle and their daddy or somebody. I'm like, no, there's 3 of them now, you know.
I'd be like, take me now.
Nowadays, yes.
I'd be like, take me now.
Oh, my God.
My luck, they'd anal probe me.
So what's the coincidence of your story and mine, Mark, is we have a Hennepin Canal here in the Quad Cities.
Yeah.
And I witnessed what had to have been a UFO there as well. So that's weird that you said that, because I was about that age that you said you were.
Right.
And I was out there at night, and that's where we'd fish from too.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked up in the sky, and I just happened to catch a glimpse, Adam, of this. It looked like a flying car, but it was way up in the sky, white lights. But back then, we didn't have the technology of the drones, so it couldn't have been a drone. It couldn't have been a helicopter or plane, and it was like hovering. It wasn't even like, going, it was just kind of hanging out in the air, and then it just kind of flew away. Yeah.
That was Ron Weasley and Harry Potter.
I know. No, but it did look like that's what I felt like it was, but I didn't even know about Harry Potter.
That's the first thing that popped in my head was the Weasley car.
But it was crazy that you said Hennepin Canal, and that's where I had my.
Well, see, now you have the Western Canal in the Quad Cities. Okay, I was up north, so our campground was located on the feeder. So if you go up by Rock Falls, between Rock Falls and Rockford, there's Lake Sinisippi up there. Lake Sinisippi feeds right into the feeder, which then goes into the canal. There's what we call the Y, and so you got the one flow that goes towards the Quad Cities and the other flow that goes towards the Illinois River.
Wow. So, Adam, do you think that's synchronicity, or like what's going on with that? What do you think that we both had the experience at a Hennepin Canal, the same thing that flows together?
Because like at first it makes me think back to those reports of like alien spaceships like coming down to the water and collecting water as their like source of energy or source of fuel to travel. And maybe they just might have been collecting water for their ship, and they just happen to see people, and they're like, let's go see what those people are doing, let's go examine them. And maybe that light that hit you, Mark, was examining you, and maybe had some kind of radiation and did did something to you.
What's really weird is I'm looking here, and I'm bringing up a map of that area, and where our campground was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different sightings in that area. Over by where you are, by Davenport and Moline, there's a cluster, and they're all around the Hennepin Canal.
Yep.
They're north and south of the Hennepin Canal. This is really cool.
My uncle-in-law, he lives out there in Kelowna where the Hennepin Canal is, and he claims to see UFOs all the time. Adam, he's been in your guys' live sometime on your podcast, Todd, and he's very knowledgeable, but he claims that he can actually communicate with aliens and stuff. What do you think about that?
I believe it 100%. I mean, at some point in time, has to be a communication with aliens and humans, and it doesn't need to be I need this electronic device or this. It can be just how there's reports of like the aliens communicating with humans but telepathically, like their mouths may not move, but you can hear their thoughts, you can hear their minds. And whether it's somebody speaking English or Spanish or Japanese or something, it's like they still know how to speak to people telepathically in their language, calm them down or tell them, hey, we're here to help you, we're here to show you this, we're here to show you that.
Right. Well, here's one that's interesting. This one's between where I would have seen it and where you would have seen it, Alicia.
Okay.
It said pulsing lights in the sky over I-80 around mile 26 in Illinois. Looked a lot like a car with flashing headlights in the sky.
No way.
Yeah, that matches what you're saying.
Where did you find that at online?
Wow. I just typed in UFO sightings map, Illinois.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is very interesting.
That's crazy.
Well, that's what I saw.
So here's another one that's up by Sterling, Illinois. It says UFO of some sort flying violently as if it was about to crash. Ended up wiping out the power in the entire city for 15 seconds.
Whoa.
So in Macomb, Illinois, there was a sighting that was seen by many people right around 2003, 2004. I lived in Macomb at the time. I didn't see it, but my sister-in-law at the time, she did. And she's a realist. She doesn't believe anything unless she sees it with her own eyes, and she saw it.
So I just clicked on Macomb, Illinois area, and it said it doesn't give me a time.
Well, there was just one this last year too.
It says 3 orange lights in a triangle moving in unison and then just disappearing.
Me and Mike were on our way from Davenport. Like, gosh, this was probably about a month or so ago. And we were way far distance, and it's like a little square. I mean, it was like hovering over stoplights during the day. I don't know how anybody else didn't see this. And I thought he didn't see it. And I was sitting there, and I kept doing that, and I looked away. It was gone. And he goes, "Did you see that? It was yellow." And it was kind of like rectangle. It was really weird.
Okay, so May 20th, 2005, that's the one in Macomb that I'm talking about. That was pretty crazy.
I'm clicking on all of them, and they all say the same thing. There's different numbers. Some say 3, some say 5. This one says 8 orange and red lights over Pekin, Illinois. And then they just vanish.
You know what? People have been saying that. And you know, the crazy thing about it is, of course, the government's going to say it's a satellite. To me, I don't think it is. I've seen it, and I know that does not look like a satellite.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of them are in a big straight line, and all of a sudden, boom, they're gone.
Sorry, I was trying to share something, and it knocked me off.
So one more question about UFOs, and then let's turn it over to the paranormal side. So with that being said, with the different shapes and everything, I think we've talked about this before. Are those different shaped UFOs different types of aliens? Like there's been grays or something like that you mentioned.
There are a lot of different types of aliens. They come from different places. The Pleiadians, I feel like they have a connection to the biblical stories, the Bible stories. The Pleiadians are basically, if in the time of BC or right around that time, if they saw something that came from another world, they would have considered that an angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back in the old days, you were either angel or demon. Take your pick.
Angel.
Exactly.
I come from a family with the name of Demon, Demon. Demeen, Germany was named after my family because we saw things that others didn't.
Wow. But yeah, that's a good question, and that's something I never thought of before, like them being all sorts of different types of aliens in those ships and those flying unidentified objects. I mean, there's been all sorts of reports of different aliens. And, you know, of course, the main ones are the Greys, and whether they are actual aliens, whether they're actually humans from the future, whether they're just vessels, like a remote control body for the actual aliens to use, or whether there's those kind called the Nordics with blonde hair, they look humans. There's lizard people that they say are aliens. There's
some people say our government is all lizard people.
Yep, I've heard that too. And the Queen, so supposedly the Queen of England.
She is sick right now.
Yep, she sure is.
Yeah.
If she gets through the
So-
corona, man, that'd be amazing. Because she's really
What
old.
is she, 356 years old?
Something like that.
She's an alien, yeah.
See, we used to always.
There's no way.
I love Betty White, but we always joke around that she was an alien because of how old she
Aw.
is, and she was. I mean, she was awesome, man. But it's like, man, how's she living so long? And then all of a sudden, boom. It's like it was so sad.
She was going to turn 100 the month that she died.
I know. I still say
Sad.
she's 100. She's 100 in my book.
Because when was it? December 31st that she passed?
Yes.
Right? One day shy of the new year.
Well, yeah, so it was like within a month after. I think it was like January 13th-ish that she was supposed to turn 100.
Man, so close.
January 17th, she was supposed to turn 100.
I was close.
Wow.
Yeah, so it makes me sick, though. She was so cool.
She was.
So Adam, let's switch it over to the paranormal. Tell us how you got started in Midnight Paranormal Society and how long you've been with the team.
Officially, a little over 2 years, but I've known Mike, one of the founders, for about 5, maybe 6 years. I met him while him and his team were at one of the public libraries, and they were giving their speech and presentation on the group and about ghost hunting stuff and ghost stuff and haunted places. And I just went up to them after their presentation and started talking to them. And, you know, from then on, I just went on investigations and did stuff with them off and on for a couple of years. And then they finally made me a member of the group. And, you know, I go on investigations with them.
Nice, nice. So what is are you an empath? What do you specialize in your investigations?
I almost want to say I'm an empath because I think I do feel others, what they're feeling, but not, I don't want to say like not as strong as other people who can do it to other people, because I feel like I can only feel like certain people, but not all the time, you know, so that's just a little bit. But for the most part, I'm just there to, you know, help hold the camera, help hold a digital recorder, you know, help look at the cameras, or, you know, if I see something or hear something, like, hey, here we go, you know.
Right, right. What was the scariest thing you've ever seen doing the paranormal?
Nothing so far I would classify as scary. Maybe like, you know, oh man, you know, what the heck was that? Or, you know, we were on an investigation, and we were in the living room, and they had this old those old fashioned like clocks. Those I forgot what they're called.
Grandfather
Like,
clock?
there we go. And like the door, like one of the doors on it like opened by itself. I'm like, hey, look at that! Like, look, and you know, it just opened by itself like that. And I went over there like looking at it, and like when you close it, like it like slams, like locks on itself, and it's like somebody would need to like yank it open almost to open it all the way, and it just opened by itself. And then like a little bit later, we had the temperature gauge and the EMF, and like we were like in the middle of the living room, and you can like it goes up like a certain way, and it stops. But you bring it back down, it goes off. It beeps, beep 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 beep. Then when you bring it back up, it stops, and we would move it to like a different part of the living room. The same thing. Like certain places it would stop, certain places it would keep going. So something I think was there was following us in the living room. So
What's been your scariest moment?
I just asked that.
Did you? Okay.
Well,
You just felt something following you around.
yeah. There was that one time we were at this ranch house. It was the ranch itself, and then on the property they had a room, like a room slash cabin
Right.
house, and we were in there, and we were leaving so the other group could come in and investigate in there. As we were leaving, like behind us to the left, you hear like running, like like on the floorboards, and me and the guy behind me like turn around, like, what the heck? Like, we both looked that way, and of course we don't see nothing, but we heard like if somebody was running at us, and just like talking about it again, just thinking about it, like, gives me goosebumps because we all know we were all right there in line, forming a line to go out the door, to leave so the other group could come in, but like we heard the footsteps running, and that was just like nuts.
That would be crazy. Sounding like someone, like a real person, like running up on you and you can't see nothing, nothing's there. That'd be crazy.
Exactly, and we, like I said, we all knew we were leaving. They sound like they were like 5 feet, 10 feet from us. The footsteps. Like I said, we both looked in that doorway. Nothing. Nobody.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, all three girls and myself, we've all witnessed stuff at investigations. We've heard things, and seen things. Last night, oh my God, I got to tell you girls, Barb knows about this. I told her today. Last night, April and I we're standing there because, we're watching this TV show, right? And we're standing in my living room. You girls have all been in my living room. And all of a sudden, we hear a door fly open on one of the cupboards in the kitchen. The lights are flickering. And then we hear a box of spaghetti hit the floor. So I walk into the kitchen and look. The corner cabinet door totally flung open and hit the other cabinet. We heard that. And a box of spaghetti flew off the shelf and went about 8 feet and landed in front of the refrigerator. And me being me, Adam, I just walked into the kitchen. I said, look, if you want spaghetti for supper, just tell me. And I picked the box, but it wasn't open. I put it back in the shelf and I closed the shelf, turned my ovilus on, and I says, all right, who's here? And right away it came on and said, Brittany.
Oh, geez.
No, we need help.
Oh, no, you didn't tell me that part.
No. So today, when I picked up April at work, on the way home, I stopped by the book rack. I walk into the children's book room where we always go to the children's room. I went and I says, Brittany, are you here? It came on, it says, no. I says, where's Brittany? Home. What home? Yours. Brittany's in my house. Yes. Who am I speaking to? Victoria.
Oh, no.
I said, Victoria, what's going on here? And she came right on the ovilus and says, something we don't like.
Oh, we got to get back there.
Yes, that's what Stacy says. Stacy said that whole bookstore in the past 2 months has been so dead quiet. She don't hear the books knocking on the things no more. Nothing. It's just dead quiet. So I think somebody went in there, brought something with them, and it stayed there.
Bingo.
And the kids don't like it.
Yeah, someone did.
Yeah. So they're asking for our help, girls.
Well, we'll just have to go there, won't we?
Okay.
Yeah. And Stacy is going to start working on the Enlightened Souls Paranormal candles pretty soon.
Nice.
We'll have those up on our Facebook site and stuff.
Cool.
Hey, I just got that free promo in,
Oh, geez, Mark.
And the REM Pod Bear is coming along nicely. What are we focusing in on? Oh, Kiki.
Here's a kitty. Hey, Oliver.
Oliver.
Aw.
So, Adam, you had some questions that you wanted to ask some of the team.
Yes, I did.
You want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, because y'all were on that one show a couple of weeks ago, and y'all were talking. Barbara was talking about how, like, it's reported that y'all were at the Devil's Backbone, and that
Yes.
they said something about like the females weren't allowed to go, I guess, in the basement or something, and that you went ahead and said, the heck with that, I'll go ahead and go down there.
Oh, that was Beatty Mansion.
Beatty Mansion.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
Beatty
okay.
Mansion. That's in St. Joseph, Missouri.
Yes, there is a spirit in the basement that does not like girls.
And I was like, I'll go.
It's
And I just
because
thought
he's
that was pretty
threatened
cool.
by girls.
So I just thought that was pretty cool how you really just going to say screw it and just go ahead and go down there, or go into a place like that and
This
show
is
you're
what
not
I,
afraid.
yeah, this is what I look at. Okay, people fear a lot of things, but to me, I'm not going to fear things because I don't know how I'm going to die. If I die because of a spirit, okay, that's it. If I die because of cancer or whatever, I can't fear, something. So I just go and do it.
And you have to realize too that if it's any kind of I don't want to say evil, but a bad entity, these things feed off of your fear.
Yes, they do.
If you go down there
Certainly
and you're showing that you're not afraid, that you're strong,
Molly.
a lot of times these bad entities will either get defensive at that point, or they just hide. They don't want to be confronted with someone that's strong. Me, I'm the target. They scratch me, they bite me. I've been choked, hair pulled, pushed. Yep.
Bit.
Yep.
It's so funny. I'm sorry, it's not funny.
Only because he likes it.
I know. I'm just like, no, Adam. I mean, the owls will say like bite or scratch. I'll just stick my arm out here. Do it.
And sometimes
Get it out of your system. Do it. You ain't the first one. You ain't gonna be the last one. But when they scratch you, Adam, it feels like a hot soldering iron going across your skin. It actually burns. And the one scratch that I had, which is right here, I put Neosporin on it. Remember that happened in Sheffield, Barb?
Yes.
I put Neosporin on it for 2 weeks and it wouldn't even start to heal.
Ooh, that's crazy.
So I went to a preacher and he goes, no. He said, that's a paranormal scratch mark. He says, the only thing that's going to heal that, you need to go to the church and put holy water on it. And I put holy water on it for 3 different days. So I went there and just splashed holy water on it, and it was completely healed on the 3rd day. He says those can only be healed by the love of God and the strength of Christ.
I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
If you ever get scratched.
Which
Just
I
be
haven't
like,
so far.
on Lost Boys when they go in and they fill their little like squirt guns with the holy water while
Yeah.
We need to do that.
while services are going on.
Or like Constantine when he the whole water tank, he sticks the cross in there and turns it all into holy water and then sets the fire system off. Yeah.
See, we need to bring those so then that'll give an excuse for a water gun fight. No.
Sorry, I thought there was a bad spirit near you.
There you go.
That would be something we all squirt Barb and she'd be like, I'm melting.
Hey, I'll just
She
squirt
just
some
turn
pretty
around and
eyes.
fart on you.
You can tell, Adam, our group, we're serious when we're investigating, but when we talk about it, we're like brothers and sisters, man. We have fun, And
It looks like it.
One thing I do want to be very serious about. I know I'm gonna get pushback on this big time, but nobody is an expert in this field.
No.
Nobody is better than anybody else in this field.
We all have a different perspective.
Yes. And we all have different methods. So like, I might want to use my REM pod all the time because it works for me. I'll tell the spirit, I'll ask a question, say blue light means yes, green light means no. And you won't believe the results I get from doing that. It's intelligent responses. Alicia might walk in with her rods and she gets good, intelligent responses off her dowsing rods.
Just don't know.
Right? Tammy likes to use her laptop and she likes to use Afterlight. And she gets very intelligent responses with that. Barbara, EVP, sometimes she likes to use GhostTube. It's an app, it's like an Ovilus app. Mm-hmm. We get intelligent responses. So just because we're using different methods doesn't mean we're doing it wrong.
Everybody's got their own net.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's what this whole, and I want to use this word very openly, that's what para-unity is all about.
I'm sorry, if you just saw me freak out, a stink bug just landed on me.
Oh, okay. But it didn't stink you up, did it? Okay. Apparently it went over by Barb too.
No, the cat come up and started clawing my chair.
Oh. But yeah, I mean, I'm actually thinking about doing a para-unity conference here in Peoria. And I've talked to a couple people about it, one in the UK and another person here in the US. And they tried doing the same thing and they said it was the worst thing they ever did. And I says, what do you mean? And they says, because there's too many egos. Everybody thinks they're a better investigator than everybody else. And
here's the thing, when ego gets involved, when you let your ego take over, you're not getting real responses, real readings or anything like that. Right. You're creating your own responses because it's what you want to hear.
Exactly. And go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and I feel the same way. Like on another show, I've been called like an expert on Bigfoot, which I told them, respectfully, like I'm no expert. I've probably had a few more hours looking into Bigfoot reports than they have, but I'm no expert. I know some reports, stories, some science of it, but I don't be like, I'm better than you. I know more than you, which I don't. Like I said, I've had more hours just to look into it.
So our thing is, we all need to realize that we have something to offer and something for other people to learn. Yeah. And if we can't learn from other people, then we're not doing it right.
No. And another thing is, if you do have someone who has maybe more experience in the field, like they've done it for more years than you have, they've done more investigations than you have, that's fine. You can learn from their experiences. They can tell their story and you can learn from it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're better. This group right here, we went into places where other teams said, dude, this place is dead. There's nothing here. We go in there, Tammy sings a Christian song for about 2 minutes, and the place is so active, you think it was a circus. It was amazing. She sung Amazing Grace for like 2 minutes, upstairs and downstairs. The place came to life. Hey, Steven, how you doing, brother?
Hi, Steven!
So, yeah, that's why we ask people on from other teams and stuff, so we can learn from them. Like, about cryptids and UFOs, and we don't know. Some of us might not know that much about it, and we're learning from you.
Yeah, and it's just like how I said earlier, like, I'm going to answer this stuff to the best of my knowledge. I know some stuff, and just like what Tammy said about, what was that place that Lumeria, and I have no idea what that is, or I've never heard of it.
Definitely do some research. It's amazing to read about.
Mm-hmm. So I learned something tonight.
See, that's
exactly
cool. That's awesome.
Exactly. So something I never knew about, and but like I said, that I just wish that, and I'm sure they're out there, that there's to put it in a nice way, like there's more people that was more interested in alien stuff, to talk to more to, because in my group, I'm the only person that's into all three of them: ghosts, aliens, and monsters. There's another guy who's also into monsters as well, that does monsters and ghost stuff. But for me, I'm the only one who does all three. And like some of the other members still will ask me this, or they will ask me that, and like I said earlier, I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge on what I can.
So my belief on the monsters, I think that we conjure up our own monsters.
Yes, we do.
With
Just
our
like
fears.
earlier. Just like earlier, we're our own worst enemy.
That's really cool that you say that. I was listening to a podcast this morning at work, and they were saying like some of these things that people report seeing are what humans have created or in our minds, and it just was brought to life somehow, some way through our minds.
Yes, and they can be very real.
Manifestation.
Yeah.
Well, I can honestly
that's-
say, Adam, I will not consider myself a Bigfoot expert ever until I tranquilize one and I bring it back and I train it like I did my dog, and then I'll show up and I'll have one sitting next to me on a podcast. Then I'll tell you I'm a Bigfoot expert. Now, Bigfoot. What I call a Bigfoot expert right now is the people that are out in the field actually trying to track them down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, they've got data, they've got proof, they've got pictures of the footprints and hair on the branches, and they say the hair's got a really bad stench to it. It's got a really putrid smell, is what they say.
Maybe like a wet dog.
I don't know. They said it's a horrible smell.
And well, two things. I've heard the same thing, and for me, how Barbara asked if I've seen one, which I haven't, because I don't go into the woods. I know nothing about. I know nothing about camping. I know nothing about woods. I know nothing about nature. I know nothing about hunting.
And you're too much, dude.
So
Steven goes, I'm pretty sure Andy Kai is a shaved Bigfoot.
So, Adam, you want to continue? Go ahead and finish up so you can get your questions in and we can answer your questions before we end the show.
yeah, I'm so glad I came on. You guys are a riot.
We try.
We love that you came on.
Yeah,
Me too. I'm having so much fun. So, because I was taking notes from when you guys were on that one show a couple of weeks ago with JoJo,
Yeah.
and how y'all were talking about how like how y'all were talking about the subject of how like parents like not getting after, but like not really paying attention to when children say, "Hey, I'm seeing this guy, I'm seeing this monster, I'm seeing this in my closet," and it is kind of sad knowing that maybe some parents didn't, not intentionally, like, but like, oh, you're just afraid of the dark, you're just seeing shadows, and it, stuff like that. I wish more parents paid attention to about.
that's because a lot of parents realize that their children sometimes have imaginary play friends. And then maybe the mom or the dad, they've seen something too, but they go into total denial because they don't want to believe that there's something in their house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my son Alex, this was probably back in 2012. We were at Mike's. He had a little 1-bedroom house with a walk-in closet, and I disciplined Alex and sent him to that room and shut the door. All of a sudden, you heard him just scream into the top of his lungs. And we come in there and he's like, "Oh my God, he's tall and he has no face. He had a top hat and he's in the closet." I mean, he was freaking out. So basically, he saw the Slender Man. And it may not even be the Slender Man. It might be something else, but it was tall and had no face.
Something he saw as that.
Yeah. And he saw it and he was freaking out. So I always listen to my children because I know there are spirits. out there, and I will listen to them. All three of my kids have seen them.
So did you read
Well,
that?
my son is like the most he is the most gifted medium that I know. He will see a spirit like it's one of us, and he's had some crazy experiences too. I would love to have him come on one of our
Podcast.
yeah. Well, no, I'd love to have him come to some of our
Oh yeah, investigation too.
investigations, but the boy works 60 hours a week minimum, so it's difficult.
Adam, Stephen Dodd says the person whose house I'm investigating soon has a picture she is sure is a giant gray.
Oh,
Could be.
You need to get a hold of Steven, Adam.
yeah, because
Okay, for sure.
If you can, get a picture of that picture and share it with us. I'd like to see that picture.
Yeah, I would too.
Same here. I'm very interested.
Do you have any other questions, Adam? Or
Any other questions?
I actually have a lot, but I guess we can say I just want to get one more out, if I could, because how JoJo was asking, like how do you open up your abilities? How do you get them to spark or work or?
That's for the girls.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is a lot of times you have to go through, and I did mention this on the JoJo show, you have to go through the dark night of the soul. Sometimes multiple times, and it's an awakening process, and it can be very scary if you don't know what it is. But it's okay, so we have a higher power, I feel, or our spirit guide or God or whatever we want to call it. And when it's time for us to wake up for that, sometimes we don't think we're ready for it, but really we are, and it can be terrifying. But when we are experiencing those things, if we can learn to just learn from them, and it takes a lot of time, because a lot of times we're like 10, 11 years old when it starts, when our first episode, and they happen consistent, like over time. I mean, I've had at least 6 dark nights of the soul, and a dark night of the soul doesn't mean it's just one night. It can be a whole year. It's just opening you up to those things. But other than that, meditation. Yep. Meditation is huge, because you're opening yourself up to listen to the universe and to what's being said, what's around you, and all of those things. And if you set your intention, wake me up, help me learn, help me understand what my gifts are, then that's how you learn.
Yeah, and we all we're still learning. And, with me, ever since a child, like I said on the JoJo show, I could see color apparitions, shadows. I've even had messages come through my dreams. I had my first out-of-body experience a few months ago. It was crazy. And
those are amazing.
Yes, and it's getting stronger and stronger by the day. I mean, I shut myself up for a while because people are very vicious, man, calling you psycho, mental, all that, when you actually predicted something was going to happen, and then that was just their defense.
Because they're afraid.
Yes. So it doesn't work that way. Like I said, I'm a medium, but I'm more of an empath. I'm still getting my gifts out there, and people do a reading of me. It doesn't work that way. If they want me to know and want me to tell somebody, I'll do it, because I'm not going to sit there and lie and be fake. Mm-hmm. It's going to come when it comes. And the biggest thing about me is I'm hoping to open up more. I just seen a shaman last Saturday, me and my husband, and he just looked right in my eyes and says, "You have a lot of gifts." I'm like, "What are they?"
We have to accept them first.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to have him on the show too. What is it, 2 weeks from now? So
yeah,
that'll be good. His name is Ed. And I'll tell you what, he's the real deal. You got to watch who you talk to and who you believe. But this guy really, really was like, boom, on point with both of us.
Mm-hmm.
So I know now that, Barb, come on, crapper, get off the pot, man. You got to open yourself up. Stop, second guessing yourself. But it's hard because then I'm like, it's telling me to do one thing. And then what if I tell this person and then it's wrong, But I had someone tell me it's always right. It may not have happened already. It may be going to happen. So do not ever second guess yourself. So I'm starting to be more calm about it. The only time that it really gets, if my mind ain't focused on what I'm doing, even investigations, I'm not going to be worth crap because my mind's still way over there when it should be here. Mm-hmm. And we all are guilty of that. So,
and one thing that I discovered is that there is certain things that you can do to train your intuition about like knowing things is so me and my friend, we practiced this intuition like thing where we would bring each other an item that was like close to us and meant something to us, and we would trade them, and each of us would hold it in our hand, and you'd kind of close your eyes and kind of meditate on it, and whatever thoughts kind of pop to your head, like, so she had brought me a ring, and she was like, well, I didn't even have to pick up her ring, and she was like, what do you get from this ring? I was like, grandmother, like instantly. And she was like, how did you know that? I was like, I don't know, it just came to me, like. And then there's things that you can do, like, you guys could think of a word, you practicing with someone else, think of a word, and then you try to figure out what that word is that they're thinking of. Or it could be a color or a number, and that's another way that you can exercise that intuition part of your brain.
That's actually like very cool that you say that, because like I've had a conversation with a friend recently saying about like, because I've told her like there are times where I want to like say something or do something or just something in general, but somebody else beats me to it, or something else happens, and I always tell her like something is like telling me to do this or do that or put this here, put that there, and she's like, you need to listen to that voice. You need to listen to it, like open your ear to it, listen to it more. When it tells you something, go along with it, do it.
Because
do this,
if you don't do it, it's gonna ask somebody else to.
Yes, it is, and I've learned that big time. And I'm like, God dang it, I knew that. Why didn't I say that?
Exactly.
Yep. And that's like,
So that's what she keeps reminding me. Do it, listen to it, go along with it. So I'm starting to trying to practice that. Go along with it.
Right. And what we like to do too is before we go into a house or anywhere, we walk it all the way through it and everything else, and come back to Mark and say, this is what we feel. This is what's happening. This happened then. Da 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 da. They're in this room. Or we won't even tell him, and we'll say, okay, what do you feel in that room? Which room just stops you dead? And then we see if he gets it.
I don't want to interrupt, but I need to get going. But you guys continue.
All right. You have a good night.
Night.
Bye,
Good
Tammy.
night.
There we go.
So I don't really I can't pick up too many things right now doing paranormal investigations, besides the fact of my, so I either get like a butterfly feeling in my stomach, or it's a head spinning kind of feeling in certain spots that have activity or like the spirit could be in. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, is I'll say, hey, it's in here. I feel like that's spinning in my head, or I have those butterflies in my stomach. And then it turns out Barb and Tammy, they go back through and they're picking up in the same areas that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And the heaviness in the chest is a big one. If you feel heaviness in the chest, And also before, like, I get like a psychic thing, I get the real butterflies in my stomach, and it feels like, you know how when you feel like when you are going to fail a test, you think you're going to fail a test or whatever, that just the pit of your stomach, that's what happens. And then I start listening and tuning in, and there's times I'm like, oh my God, what's going on here? I mean, I just get freaked out. I mean, there's two things that has happened to me before it's happened. That's something I can go into detail later, because one is a horse. Okay, so right before I hit this horse, it was a week before, and people laugh, and it's crazy because, oh, shut up, Mark. I got to get through this without laughing. So a week before, or the night before week before, I can't even think right now because he's making me laugh. Okay, so the week before, I had this dream. It was during the day, though, and it was out in the country. And I'm like, what happened? And the whole front of my car was gone. What happened? My son goes, I didn't do it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Whole week later, the night before the accident, I was like, man, I just feel like I should just call into work. I just have this gut feeling something bad's going to happen. I just got to. And my son's like, no, it's not going to happen. You're fine. So very next day, I'm thinking, oh, everything's going good. And then on the road, I just kept getting, man, you need to turn around. You need to turn around. Did I listen? No. I went around a corner and boom, hit a horse. Didn't even have time to react. So I'm sitting there and I look over and there's a man, I mean, full color. I mean, a man holding up my windshield. And before that, I seen the shadow of the horse, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is when I'm going to die. So when I looked over, he had his hand up on the thing, and he goes, let it go, and looked right straight in my face, let it go. And so all of a sudden, bam, it hits. It felt like an eternity. And I guess I carried that horse 10 feet, and it fell off. My whole front of my car, it was gone. So that's what happens to me. That's one of the examples that happens to me. So, and I've had other issues with that. So that's a big thing. I had to tell the horse story because it makes everybody laugh. But that whole, like, after that, it was tragic. I couldn't even look at a horse. But
Can't watch Mr. Ed no more.
no. But see, when the officer pulled up, I'm like asking about the horse. I didn't know if I had injuries or not. I'm like, oh my God, I killed some kid's horse. Oh. And he goes, well, that horse had the longest legs I've ever seen. I go, yeah, but is it okay? He's standing up behind you. So I'm like, I want to see this horse, you know? And he's like, no. You got to get into the ambulance. It's okay. Just, he's alive. Just go. And I'm like, you're a liar. So
Did you ever find out?
what? What'd you say?
Did you ever find out if the horse was okay or?
Oh no, I knew it was dead.
Oh,
He had died on impact. But he did have long legs. But yeah, so that's like my psychic intuitions. That's what happens. And a lot of times it's not me, you know, it's somebody else. And
do
I'm
you
not as fine-tuned as they are, Adam. I'm not near as fine-tuned as these girls are. Like, I'll walk into a room, I'll feel like a heaviness in the room. If there's something bad in there, I'll feel that heaviness, you know, but nothing like they do. I mean, like, they'll walk in and have their hands like down their sides like this or whatever, and they'll walk in and they'll turn right around and they go, no.
yeah.
And I go, what? They go, no.
like do you ever feel like you're somewhere out and about at the grocery stores or somewhere, and do you feel like, okay, like I feel like someone's like walking this way to me, or I feel like this is about to happen, or no, nothing major. It may just be like somebody like walking, you know, cut you off, or somebody drops something little like that.
Before it happens. I've had that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and
You
like I
see
said, not so much like you see it, but you just know, like
it's gonna happen.
Hey, look over here, and then like like somebody drops their phone, somebody drops something, because I feel
Or
like that
even-
happens to me.
Right. You see that the phone, like the guy's talking on the phone, and it's gonna fall. Is that what you're talking about? And then it happens.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe even feeling like somebody's watching you and you
Yes.
look in the direction for whatever reason and someone is looking at you. Like, why would I look that way? And they are, sir, there is somebody looking at me. Like stuff like
Right.
that.
That's what happened the other day at work. I was working on the car, facing forward, and like behind me, and I look behind me, and it's the other guy, like 10, 15 feet behind me, and I look, and I'm like, like, what? Like, yes, and he walked away, and like, okay,
See, that's your intuition.
Yep. Of getting sick or anything, it's like it's weird.
Do you have any other questions you want to ask?
Yeah, we're here.
I,
Go for it.
yeah, like I said, I just don't know how late you guys are gonna be up or available. So, but like I said, I have a ton. Like I said, I wrote down. I like keeping notes of stuff when I watch stuff, so I wrote down notes and notes and notes of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
So
That's awesome.
So
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I love notepads. I love pins. I'm not a big fan of like typing stuff in my phone, reminders or lists. I'm not a big fan of that. I'd rather still write it down.
Wow, you're old. No, I'm kidding. I always say that about
I am.
myself. I'm
I am old.
You're an old
So
soul.
Yes.
Oh, so
a good soul.
I'll be 38 in May, so
Oh,
I'm
geez, you're
getting
so
up there.
old.
So
I'm 49.
I'm getting up there.
So, yeah. I'm
I'm
49. so
12.
it's like, at least it's 12.
I'm 12.
And I don't dare say, how they switch your age, hey, I'm 19, 91. No, I'm not going to say 94, okay?
I'd be right up there with you, Barb.
Yeah.
I'd be 92.
You're 12. Oh, wait, 21?
keep it at 21. That's it. But yeah, like I said, I have so much to talk about. But like I said, I just don't know how late you guys are going to be up, and I could always come back another time, So
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
We're
I'll
up.
do part 2, but go ahead if you want to ask some more questions.
yeah, of course,
We're all having fun.
we are so because I like how y'all were talking about how on one person being a healer that they themselves has to heal themselves and love themselves,
Right.
like bring themselves up and build themselves up first before they can heal other people.
Well, Tammy is a Reiki master, so she would know way more about that. But I do feel like, yes, that's right, because it would be you transferring, say, whatever garbage you have from yourself, and say, like, a form of healing, like Reiki is, like you're touching. Sometimes they'll touch you, and they'll transfer their energy onto you and absorb yours. And if they already have something going on with themselves, then they're going to transfer it onto you and make things worse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I kind of know about, but I don't know as much as Tammy does.
Mhm. I'll have to ask her more about that next time she's on.
Yeah.
So, and how I don't mean to come back around to this story, but how Barbara was saying about the horse story, the horse. I used to work with horses, and I feel like the reason why I'm not really afraid of like other people's dogs is from working with horses and not having that fear of being around animals. And I noticed that people's dogs and like they tend to like come up to me like if I was their owner, their friend. They tend to come up to me and chase me and not love on me, and I'll pick them up, hey, cute doggy and stuff like that. And I've always thought that was back to when I worked with horses and being around horses for a lot of years and just not being afraid of them, just working with them and not having that fear of dogs and stuff like that.
And animals can sense what type of person you
Mm-hmm.
are, and they sense that you're a loving, nurturing, caring person, and that's why they trust you.
Yeah, and that's really true and everything. I actually loved animals. I used to work at a veterinarian. I used to groom dogs. When I was a child, I was visiting one of my friends, and I was bored, and there was a border collie all locked up, and he was mean. He didn't like anybody. I spent 2 hours sitting there talking to him and everything, made him nice. They were like, what are you doing? I said, well, he's fine. He's just scared. He's not mean. Well, and I knew I had a gift with animals. From that point on, I knew I had a gift when I was in 8th grade, for sure, around animals. I can, even cats, they like me. I mean, not every animal is going to like you, but majority of them does. And people are just like, how do you do this? And I'm like, well, you got to have patience. Plus, you got to get them to trust you. Cats are a lot harder, though. But just like I had one, his name was Thaddeus. He was over at the shelter because I used to volunteer. And he'd be like teeth and all. And I'd just sit right next to him, just sit there with my back against him and talk to him. And next thing you know, I'm petting him. And they're like, what? So I mean, they just know from that standpoint, hey, that's a nice guy. I had a dog named Duchess when I was married to my first husband, and she loved everybody. Well, she got out the front door. She ran all the way to this guy, and she just stopped in her tracks and hurried up and turned around, growled at him, and ran off. I'm like, yep, she knew he was an idiot. I mean, they know.
So, Adam, have you ever seen like a partial or a full apparition, or maybe a reflection of an apparition in a mirror or anything like that on your investigations?
No, I can honestly say no. I like, for me, I only have like a small handful of investigations that I've done over the years, because I do work a lot. I'm always at work, and I try to go on investigations with the group when I can. A lot of times they do go without me, or a lot of times I do go for a couple hours, and I got to come back home and go to work the next day or 2 days later. But I'm, as like I said, a minute ago, I'm getting older, and I do want to go out more and try to do as more as I can. So I'm hoping that one day I do see something, I do feel something, I do catch something that's, because I feel like, how can I put this? I feel like I don't believe, but I do believe. If that makes sense. Like if I see something floating in the air, a phone, a tablet, it's like, holy cow, does anybody else see that? I'm gonna believe it, but I don't know, like and the thing that got me into this stuff was I was around 11 or 12, and I was laying on my stomach with my hands like that on my chin, looking up at the TV. And I was on the bed, and I was like towards the edge of the bed, like I said, looking at the TV. And how somebody sits in the bed when you're on it, I felt that like towards the other end of the bed. And I looked behind me, and nobody was there. We didn't have no pets. The earth didn't move. The house didn't move. And well, we lived in a mobile home, and it was a small room and the door was closed, and the door was like, when you open it, you hear the wood scrape. So if somebody would have like snuck in there, I would hear the door open and close. And like I said, I turned around and I seen nothing, nobody. So me being a kid, I go back to watching TV, not paying attention to it, And I wish I would have like said anybody there or looked more, or And from then on, got me into ghost stuff and aliens and Bigfoot and mysteries and everything else in between.
Hey,
So,
Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, I'm lead singer for a band called Decade of Decadence, and we play over here to this big barbecue restaurant. They got a beautiful concert venue built on the outside. And we got done doing a show, and I went inside, and I was going to go into what they have a big dressing room for us to change back into my, non-stage clothes. And as I was walking down the hallway, I seen a full apparition of a girl, appeared to be maybe late teens, early 20s, I'm guessing. And she walked right down the hallway and went right through the office door. And I was like, okay. And the owner comes up, she goes, "Did you see her?" And I go, "Uh-huh." And she didn't even know I was a paranormal investigator at that time. And I says, "Do you want me to find out who it is?" And she goes, "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, I'm a member of, Enlightened Souls Paranormal." "Oh my God, really?" I says, "Yeah, and you're lucky." She goes, "What do you mean?" I says, "I've got all my gear in my car." So I actually went, we did an EVP session. I found out her name is Jessica. And through the Ovilus app that I have, we learned, she kept saying that she was a cashier and a stalker. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. This is a barbecue restaurant. What do you mean a cashier and a stalker? So the owner come by, the husband, he goes, "What's up? Do you find out what's going on here?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "This girl, Jessica, she's telling me that she's a cashier and a stalker." He goes, "Makes sense." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, back in the early 1900s, he said this building was a grocery store." And so she used to work there. Now there's a couple children's spirits that are back in the back where they do the washing of the dishes and stuff like that. And they have oven mitts that sit on the stainless steel tables. And those oven mitts, if you watch it long enough, those oven mitts will, A, they'll move, or B, they'll get thrown off onto the floor. They do that all.
Big Cat? Is that Big Cat?
Yes.
Is that in Knoxville?
Yes.
Oh, that's the one we're going to go investigate.
Yeah, we're supposed to go this Thursday as a team to go investigate that one. Weather permitting, of course. It seems like all the storms want to hit on Thursdays now.
That ain't no lie.
Do you have any investigations coming up, Adam, or anything else going on after?
I just had one this past Saturday. I have one coming up in April in Indiana.
Oh, Indiana's big.
And Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then about 2 weeks after that, I have one here in Texas again. The same place I'm going where I was at this past Saturday. And then in May, I'll be going back a third time to that same place I was at this past Saturday.
Where do you live in Texas?
San Antonio.
Been there many times.
You by the Air Force Base?
I used to live in Pearland, which is the southeast quadrant of Houston. We used to come to San Antonio, and we come to the big I can't remember the name, but the big water park they got there.
Probably Flitterbond.
Flitterbond, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, we come there, and then we go to the Alamo, and we do the river walk, and good food, man, real good food.
It is. I do work. My work is near a base, and like we sometimes hear like the announcements on the speakers or like the cannons being fired. But I used to work at a hotel downtown that's like nearby the Alamo, and that whole area is just like one haunted giant.
Oh yeah, it is.
nest.
Alamo, big time. I've been in the Alamo. That's
Wait, is that where Carlos Ortiz or something like that? Ortega? He works like at a hotel, he said, down by the Alamo, I think.
I think you're right.
There's a whole bunch of hotels near the Alamo because it's the Alamo. Next to it is the Emily Morgan. On the other side, it's the Minger, and on the back side, it's the Crockett.
Right.
And there's like a couple of small ones around there with some shops and everything, like in close vicinity of the Alamo.
Yep.
And like I said, I used to work at the Minger, which is right next door because it's the Minger, and then like just like 30 feet from there's the Alamo. So and underneath the Minger, like the foundations, there's tunnels. They're sealed off now, but you can see like the tunnel that they said led to the Alamo and to like other places underneath San Antonio.
Yeah, there's a whole tunnel
and
there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and I've been down there to try to investigate under there, but never really caught anything in that tunnel. But, because the only thing I've really gotten is orbs in pictures. But that was like on the second floor. And in that area, it's reported that there's a ghost of this lady that used to work at the Menger like over 100 years ago. And that sometimes you see her ghost like folding towels or walking down the hallway with towels or something. So,
Well, she can come do my laundry. I'm just kidding.
Here in Peoria, we have the Springdale Cemetery, which is huge. And there was a lady who was raped and murdered there years ago. Her name's Mildred Hallmark. And different people say that they have seen her full apparition walking through the cemetery, but yet no one has ever captured that on film. You know, nobody's ever got it on video.
And I think I've heard of that apparition before.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you said that your city, like I thought I heard something about that before.
She's known as the Lady in White, but it seems like every place you go to has a Lady in White. But that's typical because of, you know, the era that they were killed in, the way they dressed, and of course their spirit. Now, some people have seen what they call just like a column of mist. It doesn't really have the shape of a person or anything, but they think it's her. And then other people have said that, no, we actually saw her. And one lady was walking through the cemetery, and this was, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, it's getting towards dusk, you know? Mm-hmm. And she said she actually saw her, you know, down down by the the place where, down by the gazebo where I talked to Adam.
Yeah. Like
she saw her down there, and she said that the Mildred looked right at him and waved. And then as soon as he waved back at her, she just like vanished.
Wow.
And I'm like, did you get that on your camera? He goes, dude, I wasn't even thinking about lifting my phone up at that point. You know, he says, you don't think about that until it's over. And you go, oh my God, why didn't I get that on my phone? You know, but eventually someday, now there's another thing where I was sitting in the gazebo and I was talking to a little boy. He said his name was Adam. Well, we were in another paranormal group, and the leader of that group stood back and took a picture with his phone. You clearly see me sitting on the bench and my REM pod right next to me, and then right next to my REM pod, you see the perfect apparition of like a 9-year-old boy. It's awesome. It's an awesome picture.
I you know, and stories like that keep me going into this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I totally believe you 1,000%. Like hearing your story gave me goosebumps. I wish you can like feel what I feel, because it's like, wow, like and
this is video documented. We went to one of Alicia's friends' house in Moline, And
Mhm.
we met a spirit there named Gregory, sorry. Sorry, it's a memory thing. I've been watching Biden too much on TV. But anyway.
Oh, Jesus.
But anyway, Gregory said he was confused, he was lost. And we said, well, do you want to cross over? He said, yes, don't know how. Right on the obelisk. So we said, we will help you. Well, Tammy, that was here earlier, she's an ordained minister. I'm an ordained minister. And we got in kind of a semicircle in the bedroom where he was at. And I started saying a prayer, God, please open the gates of heaven for Gregory. He wants, your child wants to come. He wants to cross over, blah, 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 blah. And we just kept saying that over and over. And right behind me, the camera person was behind me, literally with this camera, and was facing at me. And you see this orb with like a trail of smoke go right up behind me and right through the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Alicia was like,
I believe we caught him crossing over.
you did. It was like right in front of Alicia.
It was amazing.
Yeah, and
You could see the
everybody that
smoke,
was on
everything.
was like, OMG, we just saw that, and it's on our live, and I'm actually gonna download the live, and I'm gonna capture that moment and put it on one of our 30-second teaser things. And
There you go.
it was a feeling. The other good feeling we had was when Barb and I went to the Beatty Mansion. We confronted a very bad spirit in the basement named Mitch. Mitch had worked there. Just to bring the story around to you, if you research the Beatty Mansion, there were a lot of brothels in that town, and the prostitutes would get pregnant. And when they would have their babies, they didn't want them, so they would take them to the Beatty Mansion, and they would put these children in the basement and raise them basically in a jail. They were abused and tortured. I would imagine physically and sexually. Mitch was one of them that abused them, and he was even keeping them captive in death. So while Barb was in one room, and she took her little teddy bear REM pod thingy in there, or Boo Bear, I guess they call it, and she put it on the floor, and it was lighting up. The kids were kind of touching it and playing with it. We got that on video. I went in, something brought me into the next room. And I was standing in there looking around, and I could feel this heaviness. And all of a sudden I started feeling pressure on my collarbones and my shoulder area. I'm like, what is that? And all of a sudden I got shoved back into the door. Physically pushed, like a man pushed me. And I was like, what the hell just happened, And Nathan came down. That's when we was with another group. He came running down the hallway and he goes, what just happened? I said, dude, I just got shoved into this door. And about that time, my phone rang, and it was one of our psychic mediums that we had on our old team. And she says, Mark, are you all right? Now, she's 6.5 hours away. She goes, I just had a premonition. You just got attacked. And I says, I did. I got shoved. And she described that room to me exact. I mean, to the brick, she described it. She says, on the right side of the window in front of you. I go, yeah. She says, there is a spirit there. He's the one that pushed you. His name is Mitch. She goes, do you have your holy water in your pocket? And I said, yes. She says, I want you to spray that wall with holy water in the form of a cross. And I want you to chant to him that he is bound to that wall by the blood of Christ, by the power of Christ, and he cannot move away from that wall. And I started doing that, and all of a sudden the camera was behind me. You could see the shadow of a man on the bricks, dude. I could not believe it with my own eyes. I was like, oh my God. And then she's on the phone. She says, now tell Barbara to take the Boo Bear. How did she know Barb had a Boo Bear? So she says, tell Barb to grab the Boo Bear and run upstairs and tell the children to follow her, that they're no longer bound to Mitch. Mitch has no control over them. And I yelled to Barb, and Barb did it. Well, there was the camera person turned the camera to Barb. As she went running up the hallway, you could see about 20 to 25 orbs come out of that room and follow Barb. And then she
That's where I
goes,
got my fame. No.
and then about 3 or 4 minutes later, the psychic goes, you just rescued about 20 to 25 children. They crossed over. And then I had to go into this speech with Mitch, and I told him, I said, I am not your enemy. I said, I will pray for you for what you did to these children when they were alive and what you're doing now and what you've done to them and in the afterlife. You know, you need to beg for forgiveness. You need to pray and beg for forgiveness for what you've done. And then I just simply said the words, you know, you're released from the wall. And I was, honestly, when I said that, I was expecting to get shoved even harder. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy was going to be upset because he no longer has spirits to control. But nothing happened. The shadow went away off the wall and the room lightened up. You couldn't feel any heaviness in the room anymore. And it was over.
And you know what? That goes along the skepticism that you somewhat have. Okay, I believe in spirits and everything. I believed everything. But when I saw Ghost Adventures and others and they're getting bit, scratched, whatever, I'm like, they're probably making it up. Well, then here's Mark. Okay, I'm not skepticism anymore because I actually witnessed it.
In Barb's trailer, I literally felt a pressure. Not like a choke like this, like a military choke, you know, like this. Mm-hmm. I literally couldn't hardly breathe. And it took Tammy to come over there and she did something. She drew like this bubble and pushed it out and said, get away from him. And it let up. But something physically was trying to choke me in Barb's old trailer. Now, she had a spirit in there that hated men because it hated Michael. It said on her obelisk, I hate Michael. Michael should die.
Yeah,
right on the
here too.
Yeah, and now at your new house, it followed him. It followed him.
That's your husband?
Yep.
Yeah, so whatever was there is now at her new house.
But he says he hasn't been bugged since he went to Ed.
Okay. Well, maybe
so
Ed
hopefully it keeps up. Of course, he hasn't told me anything today.
Maybe Ed did something. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's a shaman. I have no idea what he can, you know. But, I mean, I know what he does, but I don't know what he did.
The real deal, that's for sure.
What I'm saying is I wasn't there with you two. I don't know what he did to you guys or said to you guys or anything.
Right.
So, but it was amazing. I mean, yes, I've been scratched and I've had my hair pulled. I've had my shirt tugged on. And as any paranormal investigator has probably experienced, just batteries going dead in minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, camera batteries that are charged fully and they're dead in like 2 minutes. And you keep putting fresh batteries in and it just keeps.
Now you got 21 batteries, so.
Now we have 21 batteries, yeah. Yes, and we have 4 double chargers so we can charge 8 batteries at one time. So we're good on batteries. Like, you know, these, like Nicholas Bridges, I want to say hi to Nick. Man, he's our newest member in our team.
Yep, he's on here.
I can't wait until we get to investigate with him. I want to see how he does, how his methods are, and see what kind of results he gets. Exactly. So it's I don't know whether he can make Thursday night over in Big Cats, but we'll have to see.
He's planning on it, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so
we have lots of stories.
Oh yeah.
I would like to hear more sometime.
Right. We could always have a part 2.
Yeah,
for sure. I would like that a lot.
Yeah, just I'll have Alicia get a hold of you, and we'll schedule a part 2, and we'll get some more people on here. Then we'll discuss Bigfoot and Sasquatch and
all sorts of things.
I sent you, Adam. I sent you a link in the text, the private chat of the 10 the 10 worst Filipino paranormal creatures.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yep.
But just hearing that story of Mitch and their children, like you telling it, you saying what's going on, like I said, with your first story, gave me goosebumps, made the hair on my arm stand up. your second story, the same thing.
Yep.
And like I said, this is what keeps me going, keeps me interested, keeps me wanting to look for different ways on how people do things, and how y'all do things. People do things, different investigation techniques, stuff like that, and it's really amazing that people like y'all are there to help people on the other side move on, cross over.
We have another lady that we're going to go see in Canton, Illinois. This is kind of a sad story. Her and her husband were going to have a little get together with friends at their house on New Year's Eve, right? So New Year's Eve during the daytime, it was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They decided they're going to go to the store, and buy the party hats, the blowers, and all the party favors, right? They walk outside. They're both 32 years old. He touches the car door, gasps really loud, and falls over dead.
Massive heart attack.
Massive heart attack. So they have the wake for him, and he was cremated. Then they had the ceremony for his cremation, and they brought him home in a marble, it's a black box, right? It's not really an urn-looking thing. It's more like just a black marble box. And they sat it on the kitchen table. The daughter sat her camera down on the kitchen table, and they're walking away, and they heard the camera take a picture by itself. Literally heard the shutter sound. And they says, "What did that?" She goes, "I don't know." So they went back, and when they pushed the button, to view the picture, you see the side of the black box. Dad's face is in the box.
Mm-hmm.
He took a picture of himself.
And tell him that he's all right.
But the thing is, I think his death was so sudden that he doesn't realize he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because the kids, she'll hear her kids. Now they're teenagers. They're not little kids. They're 13 and 15. She hears them talking in the middle of the night. She'll open the door and she'll go, "Who are you talking to?" "Oh, Dad was sitting right here. I was talking to Dad." But he heard the door opening and he went away. I think he doesn't realize he's dead. So she wants us to go there and investigate and just try to use us use us as a communication tool to him, just to try to get him to cross over. But by what I understand from him, he was a really good guy. And I don't think he's going to want to cross over for a while. Even if he realizes he's a spirit, he's going to want to watch over his family for quite a while, I believe.
Yep.
That's what I get out of it. But
that's really, really great of him to want to stick around. And I was going to tell a story really quick. One of my ghost books I have, my favorite ghost book that I have, I've read the story a gazillion times. And the gist of it is the same thing, where the father comes back to look after his wife and his little girl, of this guy who's wanting to break into the house and hurt. And because the cops know of the burglar breaking in, and he's known to, like, if he sees a woman there or like a child there, he'll hurt them. But the gist of it is that the spirit of the husband was there to protect the wife and the little girl, and the criminal, the bad guy, burglar was captured, and I have to tell like the longer version of it some other time, but just like even that story, just telling you guys about it, like, holy cow, like that's wow.
Well, I mean, ever since I got into this field, it has totally changed my mind on what I consider the afterlife to be.
Yeah.
One of the things growing up, I was raised in a Baptist church, and I was always taught that when a child dies, their spirit went straight to heaven. Now I know that that's not exactly true. We have a bookstore right here, the one I was talking about I went to. There's 15 to 20 children's spirits in that building. We've got their names. We know who I have one that follows me home, Brittany. And she has told me, I mean, I've actually had kind of a conversation with her with the Afterlight box. And she's told me that there's a veil. She keeps calling it a veil.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to cross the veil to go to see her mom and dad or to come to see me. Her mom and dad, of course, are dead. So there's a veil. And she says when you cross the veil, it takes so much energy that you're so tired. That's what she says to me. She says, when we first cross over, we're so tired that we have to get energy. And that's why she likes my REM pod. If I get my REM pod out right now, I guarantee you she's in my basement with me. That thing will just go off and it won't shut off. So I'm thinking about making a couple Tesla coils, little thing. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make a couple of those and stick them out because that creates static electricity within the room, and the spirits can just ingest that energy. They can take it and they can use it. And I think it would be awesome. So.
Yep.
Well, it is 10 o'clock, Alicia.
Yep. We've been on here 2 hours, so we better get off here.
Because it was such a good time.
Yeah, it
enjoyed
was.
having you on. And we learned from you and you learned from us.
I sure did.
So we're going to have to do a part 2, like you said. Like we all said.
Yes.
I want to give a
sure.
shout out to Johnny Mariner and Ed Cozart, Stephen Dobbs, of course. Stephen, you're awesome, dude. Nicholas Bridges, yep. Molly Bippus,
Sharon Driven.
Yep. Give a big shout out, Chrissy Carpenter and Maddie Vasquez, Laura Smith, everybody that logged on. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We hope that you maybe learned a little something. I know I did. And Adam, we look forward to seeing you on part 2 sometime. So Alicia can get a hold of you sometime and let's do a part 2.
Yep.
I look forward to it.
And
I'll make sure to wear my Batman.
We're always in touch.
I'll make sure I'll wear my Batman uniform.
Yes, and
you guys can twin it up.
And I also want to show Barbara this. Like, it's the shirt, but then it has the cape in the background.
It's got a cape.
So.
Mark hates Batman.
So yeah.
I'm more of a Superman guy. I like the aliens.
Superman. So, but yeah, I've had so much fun with you guys. I was a little nervous at the beginning, but like I said, I'm good. So, but I had so much fun, and I look forward to coming back.
Adam, I can understand your nervousness being around 3 beautiful women like Alicia, Barb, and Tammy. I mean, it's hard for me to work around those 3. You know what I mean? It's just.
And I can't imagine how it is for you. I mean, I'm here on the other side of a screen, and I see him, but you're in person with them, working with them. So, I imagine it's very tough for you.
It's tough for me. He's such an a-hole, you know. I had to say it. I had to.
Oh my gosh.
Showing brotherly love, sisterly love, brotherly love.
Oh, Barbara, if I'm an a-hole, you're my hemorrhoid. That's all I can say.
That's Alicia. No.
Oh my goodness. What did I get into?
TMI, dang it. TMI.
But anyway, just letting everybody know if you want to tune in. Thursday night, we're supposed to be going to a barbecue restaurant that is haunted. Weather permitting again, because it looks like we have another snowstorm coming on Thursday. So depending on how much snow we get, we may have to postpone for another week. But because I do know the following week, Thursday is supposed to be 60 degrees. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be warm a week away, but we got a lot of things in the planning, a lot of really, really good investigations coming up this year. One you mentioned, Adam, was the Devil's Backbone. There's a lot of children spirits there. There's one in particular that we're going to try to help him cross over, or at least have him locate his body. It's somewhere in the river. We don't know where. But all he tells us on the obelisk is it's deep, dark, and cold. That's all he could tell us.
His name is Alex, just like my son.
Alexander. Yeah, now him and his uncle drowned together there a few years ago. They found the uncle's body. They never found Alex's body. So it was really chilling to hear him tell us that where he's at is deep, dark, and cold. And that's the Mississippi River right there. So we'd like to go find him, you know, at least get an area where they can try to find at least a part of his body just to give his family closure. You know what I mean? But that's what we love doing. We love helping people. Our team, we love to help people. And whether it's helping the spirits cross over, that's a great thing too. But if it's helping others get closure with what they have in their houses or in their businesses. Like, you know, this young lady at the barbecue, she worked there. So apparently she died there too, because her spirit is still there. And I'm guessing that we can probably maybe talk her into crossing over.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'll be looking. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, all we can do is go there and talk to the spirits and see what they want. Because like the spirits at the bookstore, they don't want to cross over. They told us, no, we have fun here. We like it here. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do. I mean, you know. So, well, everybody, I'm out of here. So,
Toodles!
Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
Such a good time.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks to viewers for coming on. Everybody.
We love our fans. We love everybody.
And we're on TikTok. We're on YouTube, Facebook. Anything else, Alicia? Did I miss
Instagram, aren't we?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Are we on Instagram? Not yet.
Oh, okay.
We will
Not
be.
yet.
We'll get there.
Everyone. Have a
All
good
right.
night. Bye,
Have a good night,
Adam.
everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye, y'all.